Travis Wayne Goodsell. I see John DeLynn was able to have control over YouTube employees to have a thumbnail that I had created with John DeLynn's picture. That's a naughty no-no, John. You're a public figure, and the video was talking about you, so sorry, can't touch that. But YouTube hates me, so yeah, they have no problems with that. Mormons all declare that the Book of Mormon is true. It's too general. We don't fully understand what a Mormon means when they say that the Book of Mormon is true. Is it grammatically true? Is it historically true? Are the precepts true? What is it about the Book of Mormon that makes it true? And if I were to say that the Book of Mormon is fiction, Mormons would throw a fit. Because in their mind, it has to be true for everything. It cannot be something else and be true on maybe the precepts. And I've gone over telling you that the Book of Mormon's precepts are true. And I use the main precept of the Book of Mormon to show you how true it is. That of obtaining knowledge, not being stuck in a rut with spiritual witness. Mormons can't accept that. That's the wrong application. You're twisting the scriptures, Travis. Oh, so the Book of Mormon's not true? No, it's true, just not your twisted way. You mean direct application of the precepts being taught. Don't try to confuse the issue. Because if you were to apply the direct application pragmatic principle that is being used in the Book of Mormon, you would find out that, yeah, the precepts are correct. They're true. They're not lying, they're not fraudulent, they're not deceptive, they're not trying to cause harm for anybody who tries to then implement them in their lives and liken the scriptures unto themselves. The Book of Mormon precepts are true. It's not a demon book that'll possess you by Lucifer or one of his angels to, I don't know, shoot fire from your grow horns. And so, yeah, it's a good book, literally. But Mormons don't get it that when you apply that to whether it's a history or just fiction, oh no, that's going too far now. Sorry, but the application has to apply to everything we do in life, or it's not a true principle. And so yes, the Book of Mormon fails when you try the experiment to find out if it's an actual, accurate history. And we find out it's just fiction. That's it. And the main reasoning even causes ex-Mormons and critics of the church to err. Because when they find out it's fiction and not an accurate history, then they then say, oh, it's fraud, it's a deception, it's a lie, it's trying to harm people. You'll grow horns. And so ex-Mormons don't see the Book of Mormon as having or teaching correct precepts, because they don't apply that with the Book of Mormon. And Mormons don't apply the precept to finding out whether it's fiction or history. Kind of a bizarro switcheroo in that particular case. The biggest clue that we have is one that you don't really need much to do extra research on, and studying biblical Hebrew or Greek or linguistics so that you can identify plagiarism. All you need to do is get to the part in Isaiah. And you go, wait a minute, why is this a near match to our book of Isaiah? Well, then you get Kwaku coming along saying consistencies are proof of its truth. No, Kwaku, it's called plagiarism. That video was stalled on views, I noticed, at 138. And yet, identifying the plagiarisms disqualify the Book of Mormon as being true in the sense of an actual history of the indigenous people of America. It's not. It can't be claimed as such. And yet, ex-Mormons insist that the book has to have a disclaimer in it at the beginning: this is a fiction, it is not based in reality. Well, no fiction book does that. All books of fiction present themselves as if they are a real story about real people in a real time frame. And then you get to sci-fi, and it's now placed in a science fiction fantasy world. But the audience is supposed to catch on to this. They're not supposed to be tricked. And yet, War of the Worlds, was it H.G. Wells or I think it was H.G. Wells, wasn't it? War of the Worlds. Let me do a fact check real quick. War of the Worlds. Yeah, H.G. Wells. And there's his War of the Worlds radio broadcast that I was going to talk about. It's because his book, back in the days of radio, before TV, his book was read on the radio. Book reading, bedtime story. And his book, which is science fiction, was so realistic to the audience listening in that the people panicked and thought it was a news coverage of an actual alien invasion. And thus he became a best-selling author. But it's just fiction, science fiction. And so the Book of Mormon does the same situation. It claims to be an actual history, but it's not. It's fiction. And Mormons can't handle that. No, it has to be true. The 12 colonies are looking for the lost 13th tribe here on Earth, and we're that lost 13th tribe of Cylons. If you're familiar with Battlestar Galactica and the original author, who was Mormon, Glenn Larson, he's now dead, but I mean, yes, there are really good stuff out there that we would love to be real. And it's unfortunate that lawsuits have been filed against movie producers of films and such, that now all movies have to have a disclaimer at the end of their movie saying that any connection to any real people or events is just coincidental, even when they are based on a true story. And so that was lame. Judges need to stop it. The movie Galaxy Quest was a perfect illustration of how absurd it is for people to think that entertainment in books and TV and movies get to the extreme with fanatics. And quick, let's get out of here before one of them eats Guy. I don't have a last name. The historical documents. But yeah, it teaches a moral. That's what all books and movies and TV shows do, whether they intended it or not. Is there's a moral to the story. And it involves protagonists versus antagonists. And so if you have the protagonists who are actually antagonists and they triumph in the end, then you're actually switching it, and it's called a tragedy. Tragedy! And so just chill out, Mormons. It's okay for the Book of Mormon to be fiction because the precepts that are taught therein are true. They're good. It's okay to be Mormon and say that the Book of Mormon is just fiction. And then you can stop all this nonsense about trying to fend off all these scientists who are saying, oh, we can't find horses in the archaeological record. There's no European animals here in America. There's no coins. There's no archaeological match. And those of you who are doing maps can cut it out. We all know it's Solomon Spaulding's map for that western New York by Michigan. Just stop it. Stop the nonsense of trying to be non-scientific and yet claiming to be scientific in your connections. Just cut it out. Stop it. Stop it, Kwaku. So, yeah. And as a work of fiction, it's actually quite nice. I enjoy it. There's lots of stories in there that are among my favorites. You know, you have Ammon, who decides, hey, I'm going to be your servant, and then gets put in the lowest form of work, that of taking care of the king's flocks, because other Lamanites come in and purposely tamper with the king to get the servants in trouble so that they get murdered. So Ammon, comes along, chops off their arms, and then presents them to the king, and then the king says, oh, I want to join your church. So, if you don't understand, it's not a tribal historical thing to chop off the arms and present them to the... No, stop it! It's just a story. It's just fiction. Thanos snaps his finger and the universe is destroyed. Oh no, don't do it, Thanos. No, stop him, somebody. So just stop. Baby Yoda is not real. He's sleeping, but it's not real.